This episode contains spoilers for the musical.
By the way, you'll get life or death plot spoilers just by listening to music from the Hamilton soundtrack.
Hello everyone.
And welcome to Dad
And me
Love History.
Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
And welcome to part 2 on the American Revolution and Hamilton the musical.
In our previous episode, we talked a lot about the history of the American Revolution, and we played some short clips from Hamilton the musical. Well, now we have the full rights to the music, so we're going to play you whole songs and analyse the truth of the history contained in those songs.
Be in the room where it happens,
Anyway, over Easter, we were lucky enough to be
in the room where it happens, the room where it happens.
At Sydney's Lyric Theatre.
Hey, let's take you to the theatre now, just before the performance.
So we're here inside the theatre. The performance is going to start in a few minutes. And so obviously I'm here with
James.
But I'm also here with
Mama.
Yeah, so it's Dad and me love history, and Mama does too. So we were talking earlier about favourite lines from the musical. Obviously we've listened to the album quite a lot. And mine's when George III sarcastically kind of says to the American revolutionaries after they've won, "Oh yeah, great job, awesome, wow. You know, what are you going to do next?" Is kind of what the lyrics are singing. Yeah, you've won, but now what?
What comes next? You've been freed. Do you know how hard it is to lead? You're on your own. Awesome, wow. Do you have a clue what happens now? Oceans rise, empires fall. It's much harder when it's all your call. All alone across the sea. When your people say they hate you, don't come crawling back to me. Da, da, da.
So my favourite line is
Awesome, wow.
Your favourite line, Mama?
Immigrants, we get the job done.
Monsieur Hamilton,
Monsieur Lafayette,
in command where you belong.
are you saying no sweat? We're finally on the field, we've had quite a run.
Immigrants, we get the job done.
Your favourite line, James?
What is a legacy? Legacy is planting seeds in a garden that you never get to see.
What if this bullet is my legacy? Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song someone will sing for me. America, you great unfinished symphony you sent for me. You let me make a difference, a place where even orphan immigrants can leave their fingerprints and rise up.
So we had an amazing time there. We were just a bit sad that because of COVID, we didn't get to meet any of the cast.
Yeah, I contacted the production company and it sounded like we would have been able to interview some cast members, but the COVID rules changed.
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history.
So how does a ragtag volunteer army in need of a shower somehow defeat a global superpower? Meaning, how do a group of Americans who aren't a proper army, they normally just work on farms or making things in workshops, how do they defeat Britain, the most powerful nation in the world?
Surprise attack!
Yeah, General Washington was a very good leader, and he kind of learned that surprise attacks was a better way to go. And he had Alexander Hamilton as his right-hand man. Hamilton was great at organising things and getting things done. And he was also great at persuasive writing. So a lot of ordinary people read what Hamilton wrote, and then decided to volunteer to join the new American army.
How do we emerge victorious from the quagmire? Leave the battlefield waving Betsy Ross's flag higher? Yo, turns out we have a secret.
And they got help from another country. Where else did the Americans get help from, James?
France.
That's right. Particularly from a guy called...
Lafayette.
I'm taking this horse by the reins, making red coats weather with blood stains. And I'm never gonna stop until I make them drop or burn them up and scatter the remains down. Watch me engaging them, escaping them, and raising them out. I go to France for more fun. I come back with more guns on ships, and so their balance shifts.
We rendezvous with Rochambeau, consolidate their gifts.
We can end this war in Yorktown, cut them off at sea, but
also known as...
Mary, Joseph, Paul, Yves, Rot, Gilbert de Montry, known as Marquis Lafayette.
Yeah, good work. Yeah, we've been doing some research, and James has got... What's your book called, James?
Who was Alexander Hamilton?
By Pollock and Belviso. And I've been using a few things, including Hamilton the Revolution by Lin-Manual Miranda and Jeremy McCarter. And of course, Miranda wrote the musical. So I just want to credit those sources there, give them a shout out. Anyway, Lafayette and the French brought to America guns and ships and men to fight as well.
If we manage to get this right, they'll surrender my early life. The world will never be the same. Alexander.
Then there's another song that's a rap battle, although it was actually in real history, obviously not a rap battle, but it was a real government meeting. And this rap battle in Hamilton the Musical was between a leader called Jefferson arguing against another leader, our very own Alexander Hamilton. Now, northern states, like New York State, where Hamilton lived, often owed money on loans, and they owed more money than southern states, like Virginia, where Jefferson was from. So the northern states often have bigger debts than the southern states. Alexander Hamilton wanted the richer states to help pay off the debts of poorer states. He wanted to set up a big national bank as well, like a bank for the government, and base that in New York. So he really wanted to get control of these debts that were owed and the banking system. And that's what you're going to hear in Cabinet Battle Number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with us in New York City. Are you ready for a cabinet meeting, huh? The issue on the table: Secretary Hamilton's plan to assume state debt and establish a national bank. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We fought for these ideals, we shouldn't settle for less. These are wise words, enterprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, cause I wrote them. Ow, but Hamilton forgets. His plan would have the government assume state debts. Now place your bets as to who that benefits. The very seat of government where Hamilton sits.
Not true.
Oh, if the shoe fits, wear it. If New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South, cause we got it made in the shade. In Virginia, we plant seeds in the ground. We create, you just wanna move our money around. This financial plan is an outrageous demand, and it's too many damn pages for any man to understand. Stand with me in the land of the free. Pray to God we never see Hamilton's candidacy. Look, when Britain taxed our tea, we got frisky. Imagine what gon' happen when you try to tax our whiskey.
Thank you, Secretary Jefferson. Secretary Hamilton, your response.
Thomas, that was a real nice declaration. Welcome to the present, we're running a real nation. Would you like to join us? Or stay mellow, doing whatever the hell it is you do in Monticello? If we assume the debts the Union gets a new line of credit, a financial diuretic. How do you not get it? If we're aggressive and competitive, the union gets a boost. You'd rather give it a sedative? A civics lesson from a slaver. Hey neighbor, your debts are paid because you don't pay for labor. We plant seeds in the South, we create, they keep ranting. We know who's really doing the planting. And another thing, Mr. Age of Enlightenment, don't lecture me about the war, you didn't fight in it. You think I'm frightened of you, man? We almost died in the trench while you were off getting high with the French. Thomas Jefferson always hesitant with the president, reticent. There isn't a plan he doesn't jettison. Madison, you mad as a hatter, so take your medicine. Damn, you in worse shape than the national debt is in. Sitting there useless as two. Hey, turn around, bend over, I'll show you where my shoe fits.
Excuse me. Madison, Jefferson, take a walk. Hamilton, take a walk. We're gonna reconvene after a brief recess. Hamilton, sir, a word.
You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. You're gonna need congressional approval and you don't have the votes. Such a blunder, sometimes it makes me wonder why I even bring the thunder.
Why he even brings the thunder?
And you'd have heard another issue that comes up in that song, James. Now, did you get what this was about? Jefferson has already said that we plant seeds in the South, and Hamilton kind of quotes it back at him, making a fun of Jefferson. Oh, we plant seeds in the South, we create. Yeah, keep ranting. We know who's really doing the planting. Do you know who's really doing the planting?
The slaves.
Yeah, exactly, the slaves. So in the southern states like Virginia, where Jefferson was from, they had slavery and they were making money because they didn't have to pay their workers. So that comes, that's obviously a big issue at the time. It comes out in that song, Cabinet Battle No. 1.
Hamilton the musical has a lot to say about history and the work historians do.
Yeah, the musical makes it clear that history is often not one set of facts and that's it. It's more like different historians interpreting facts or evidence in different ways. Or some historians selecting some facts or some bits of evidence to say this is important, but whilst they're ignoring other facts or other bits of evidence. And each historian does that in a different way. So you get slightly different versions of history, sometimes very different.
History has its eyes on me.
Let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? I know that we can win. I know that greatness lies in you. But remember from here on in, history has its eyes on you. History has its eyes on you.
The Hamilton song called Room Where It Happened is about decisions being made about two things.
Number one, where the capital city of this new country, once they've defeated Britain, this new country, the United States of America, will be built. Political leaders from the South, like Jefferson and Madison, wanted it to be close to where they lived, down south in Virginia. And number two, the other thing they argue about in the song is where the banking headquarters should be and who would control those debts that we mentioned earlier that different states owed. Hamilton wanted America's main bank headquarters to be near his home in New York, of course.
So Jefferson, Madison and Hamilton had a meeting, just the three of them, to decide what would happen. Listen to the song.
Two Virginians and an immigrant walk into a room diametrically opposed foes. They emerge with a compromise, having opened doors that were previously closed. The immigrant emerges with unprecedented financial power, a system he can shape however he wants. The Virginians emerge with the nation's capital. And here's the pièce de résistance. No one else was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened. No one else was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where
how the sausage gets made. We just assume that it happens, but no one else is in the room where it happens. Thomas claims
Alexander was on Washington's doorstep one day in distress and disarray.
Thomas claims
Alexander said,
I've nowhere else to turn.
and basically begged me to join the fray.
Thomas claims
I approached Madison and said, I know you hate him, but let's hear what he has to say.
Thomas claims
Well, I arranged the meeting. I arranged the menu, the venue, the seating.
but no one else was in the room where it happened. The room where it happened. The room where it happened. No one else was in the room where it happened. The room where it happened. The room where it happened. No one really knows how the parties get to yes. The pieces that are sacrificed in every game of chess. We just assume that it happens, but no one else is in the room where it happens. Meanwhile, Madison is grappling with the fact that not every issue can be settled by committee. Meanwhile, Congress is fighting over where to put the Capitol. It isn't pretty. Then Jefferson approaches with the dinner and invite, and Madison responds with Virginian insight.
Maybe we can solve one problem with another and win a victory for the Southerners. In other words,
Ho,
a quid pro quo.
I suppose.
Wouldn't you like to work a little closer to home?
Actually, I would.
Well, I propose the Potomac.
And you'll provide him his votes.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Let's go.
No. What else was in the room where it happened? The room where it happened. The room where it happened. No one else was in the room where it happened. The room where it happened. The room where it happened. My God, in God we trust, but we never really know what got discussed. Click, boom, and it happened. And no one else was in the room where it happened. Alexander Hamilton. What did they say to you to get you to sail New York City down the river? Alexander Hamilton. Did Washington know about the dinner? Was there presidential pressure to deliver? Alexander Hamilton. Or did you know even then it doesn't matter where you put the U.S. Capitol?
Cause we'll have the banks, we're in the same spot.
You got more than you gave.
And I wanted what I got. When you got skin in the game, you stay in the game. But you don't get a win unless you play in the game. Oh, you get love for it, you get hate for it, you get nothing if you wait for it, wait for it, wait. God help and forgive me, I wanna build something that's gonna outlive me.
So James, where did they decide to build the new capital city, and who would benefit from that?
It was in Virginia, and so Jefferson and Madison wanted that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they wanted. So they got what they wanted on that one. And of course the capital would be called Washington, named after the great general and the first president of the United States, George Washington, who's obviously a big character in this musical. And the second issue, who got what he wanted for where the banks would be based and for how the debts of the states would be organised? Hamilton, exactly. And so you hear in the song, he sounds happy enough to kind of give up where the capital city will be if he gets to organise the country, the whole kind of financial money system of the country, the way he wants. And that song, Room Where It Happens, makes it clear that we don't have any neutral witnesses who could be sources of evidence for what happened in that meeting between Jefferson, Madison and Hamilton. It was just the three of them there. After an event, it really matters who gets to tell the story, to tell the history. Will they exaggerate or miss things out to make themselves look good and others look bad?
It really does matter who tells your story.
Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
After Alexander Hamilton was killed in a duel, his wife Eliza would live for another 50 years. She worked hard to tell his story, using evidence from letters and other documents. She got someone to write the first book of Alexander Hamilton's life story.
We call that type of book a biography.
Eliza, his wife, really is a star character. She also helped raise money to make the Washington Monument to honour George Washington and his life story. Motivated by her Christian faith, she did a lot of charity work and campaigned against slavery. She and two other women created New York City's first private orphanage.
I stop wasting time on tears. I live another 50 years. It's not enough. I interview every soldier who fought by your side.
She tells our story.
I try to make sense of your thousands of pages of writings. You really do write, but you're running out of time. I rely on Angelica. While she's alive, we tell your story. She is buried in Trinity Church near you. When I needed her most, she was right on time. And I'm still not through. I ask myself, what would you do if you had more time? The Lord in His kindness, He gives me what you always wanted. He gives me more time. I raise funds in D.C. for the Washington Monument.
She tells my story.
I speak out against slavery. You could have done so much more if you only had time. And when my time is up, have I done enough? Will they tell your story? Oh, can I show you what I'm proudest of? The orphanage. I established the first private orphanage in New York City. The orphanage. I helped raise hundreds of children. I get to see them growing up. The orphanage. In their eyes I see you, Alexander. I see you every time. And when my time is up, have I done enough? Will they tell your story? Oh, I can't wait to see you again. It's only a matter of time. Will they tell your story? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Will they tell your story? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history.
My name is Alexander Hamilton,
So,
and there's a million things I haven't done.
over 2 episodes, we've heard a lot about Hamilton and the American Revolution. A website called the Hamilton Project investigated what's historically accurate or true in the musical and what's not. They found Hamilton the musical to be 77% historically accurate. In the musical Hamilton, even the props are historically accurate. All of the newspapers used on stage at different points are full of real stories from real newspapers at the time that particular scene is set. Hamilton, Washington, Aaron Burr, etc. all have their own seal, like a wax seal used to seal letters. It's often in red, kind of melted wax, and then you kind of print on it your name or signature or initials. And so in the musical on stage, each of those had a different seal with the real kind of initials on it. We'll never see it in the audience, but the creators of Hamilton the musical, they wanted it to feel real for the actors as well as the audience.
In New York, you can be a new man. In New York, you can just be a new man. New York, you can just be a new man. New York, you can be a new man. New York, just you wait. Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton. We are waiting in the wings for you. Waiting in the wings for you. Never back down. You never learn to take your
So, although that's about it for this episode, we've got questions and then outtakes at the end.
So tell everyone you know, adults and kids.
Yeah, tell them all about our show, our 2 parts on Alexander Hamilton and the American Revolution. And of course, all our other episodes, we cover all sorts of world history, ancient and modern. So share our podcast on social media and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't get your podcast from there, it'd be great if you could put a review on there or wherever else that you listen.
And tell us what you think on Facebook
And Instagram.
and Twitter. Bye from now.
From Dad
and me,
love history.
What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton.
Here are some questions.
Number 1. What was my most favourite line from the musical?
Number 2. In the song Guns and Ships, which country is the superpower and who are they fighting against?
Number 3. What do you think George Washington meant when his character sang "History Has Its Eyes on Me"?
After a week of fighting, a young man in a red coat stands on a parapet.
We lower our guns as he frantically waves their white handkerchief.
And just like that, it's over. We tend to our wounded, we count our dead.
Black and white soldiers wonder alike if this really means freedom.
Not yet.
We negotiate the terms of surrender. I see George Washington smile. We escort their men out of Yorktown. They stagger home single file. Tens of thousands of people flood the streets. There are screams and church bells ringing. And as our fallen foes retreat, I hear the drinking song they're singing.
Number 4. Do you think different people can believe different versions of the same period of history?
Number 5. Where did they decide to make the US new capital and what is it called?
And finally, number 6. The Hamilton Project found that the musical has what percentage of historical accuracy?
Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
Just for the outtakes, I just want to talk about that question because I don't know that we gave it a clear answer. What do you think? Question 3 was, what do you think George Washington meant when his character sang "History Has Its Eyes on Me"? Do you know what that's about?
Well, it means like he has to make the right decisions or something.
Because in the future, historians are going to look back and people, like us, are going to look back and make judgments. Oh, did he do well? Was he a good guy? And generally, people respect George Washington for doing a brilliant job. So he was aware that history was going to look back, have its eyes on him. Okay, that's a wrap. Don't take my wheels away, please.
I just have to move so I can get out.
Okay. Thank you. See ya. Yeah, spoiler warning. If you don't want to know what happens in the musical, don't listen. Anyway, over Easter. Is that a good enough spoiler warning?
Your favourite line, James?
What is a legacy? A legacy is... Oh, I forgot the line.
We plant seeds in the South. This is Jefferson talking or singing. We create. Yeah, keep ranting. Oh, sorry, it's not. Start again. Hello.